Welcome, everybody. I'm Marla Miller from marlamiller.com, and I'm here presenting my second podcast, the title of which is, and I have to look because I've changed it, 21st Century Authors and Content Creators Talking to Marla Miller. The reason why I've added content creators is because we are in the 21st century, folks, and content creators are if you don't hang out in any of the places where you can see their work, then you don't appreciate just how creative they are. And many of them have to write, uh, for whatever it is that they're presenting. And I'm curious about them. I want to know how you switched from whatever it was you were doing to this, because we didn't even have these, even a couple of years ago. I think TikTok is maybe 5 years old. I don't know. But so I decided to add content creators and then zoom in on people who have decided to come to the creative life uh, as a second career. And I think there's a lot of people who are doing that out here. My first interview in this podcast was with Dr. Julie Dillamuth, and it's on my YouTube channel. And she's a geographer who now writes award-winning children's books. And her pathway, fascinating. And today's guest is Gail Carline. And I've known Gail for quite a long time because we both uh, offer workshops at the Southern California Writers Conference. And I've had her at my workshop up at the Santa Barbara Writers Conference as well, because Gail, she comes from the world of engineering and she writes fiction and nonfiction. She's a columnist, as I was for many years. And she writes across several genres. And she's got a book coming out, or she's working on one that's a sequel to her first book about the equestrian life and the mysteries that surround that community. I'm delighted that she's back on the show. Gail, welcome.
Thank you, Marla. Thanks for having me.
And so you heard my intro, and I know that started out as an engineer. Could you share just, first of all, how many books do you have out before we?
Okay, the latest book that is in my editor's hands is my 17th.
I love it.
So,
I
yeah.
love it. And we'll go down that road.
Yeah.
But let's start when you decided to become a writer, because you weren't, you didn't start out in college to become a writer. You started out in
No.
college to become,
So, it might surprise you. I actually started out in college to become an artist.
really?
My family is all very artistic. My uncle made his living as an artist, like painting, sculpting. He would get commissions. It was a very big fish in a very little pond. And
Mhm.
so when I was little, one of my favorite activities was to take a big sheet of paper, sit down, and I would start in one corner. And I would start in the corner, and I would have a house and a tree, and a horse and a dog. And I didn't put me in because it was first person point of view. So uh, I would start telling a story, and we would go
Right.
places. We would go to the mountains and to forest, and then we'd make our way up to this corner, which is where the city was. So we'd go to the city. It was on the beach, so we had a pier, and then there would be bomber planes, and then the dragons would show up because everything's better with dragons. And so I'd fill this whole sheet of paper
Yeah.
at six with this huge story. Well, my
So that
family
was a
looks,
storyboard.
yeah, and my family looks at this and says, "Oh, she's an artist." And I look back at that and say I was a storyteller.
For sure. For sure.
So
Absolutely.
so I started as an artist. I went to Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois, private university, as an art major. Beautiful art program. Uh, and I
How did you
just
get to engineering?
okay, well, so here's what happened. Um, I didn't have the passion for art. Could I draw a tree? I
Ah,
had the skill. I could draw a tree. Was it the tree that I pictured? No. Did I want to draw 1,000 more trees till I got the tree I wanted?
no.
No. So
You wanted to tell the story. You just didn't know it
I
then.
just didn't know that
So
I
cool.
wanted, huh?
Wow. Wow, that's so
So
cool.
so I ended up ditching college, leaving college. I got married to get out of my parents' house because that's the way you did it in those days. Because I'm
Yeah,
from the
back.
Jurassic period. Um,
You and me both, sister.
and the marriage didn't work because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Eventually, I ended up as a computer operator at a on a farm for a corn company.
Wow.
And it was in the very, very old days where the guys would bring me their programs they'd written in Fortran and I would enter them. Well, I started to learn Fortran by
Yeah.
entering these programs and I would fix some of their bugs and so forth. And so one of the guys said, you're pretty good at this. You're pretty smart. Would you like to learn to do this? And I said, well, I'm not doing anything else. And so I went to college briefly just to learn Fortran, and then my boss said, if you want to really make money, you need to be in California, where
Oh, is that how you
the
got here?
yeah,
Okay.
and I had always wanted to live in California, so
Me too.
I applied. I got a job. I was non-degreed. I took a look around my area and said, I better get a degree if I want to go anywhere with this thing. So went to Cal State Fullerton and got my degree in
Oh,
computer science.
got
So
it.
that's how I became an engineer.
Boy, that's a handy degree to have.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
and so let's just segue into you've got 17 books out.
uh-huh.
Gail is one of the only writers that I know, and I've known writers for the last several decades, who is pretty much exclusively, she's a columnist in her community regional newspaper, but she pretty much exclusively has always stayed on the self-publishing route. And now that you've heard what you just heard from her, you can understand why, because she had a head start. She knew the back end of a computer. And so that didn't intimidate her. And that makes so much sense because the people who were able, I'm thinking of Hugh Howey, and I'm writing a
Mhm.
piece now, and Ziegler. I'm blanking on his first name. I had him at my workshop at the Southern California Writers Conference, but they both had really solid computer backgrounds.
Mhm.
And so in 2010, when they broke away and became, the indie pop artists that they became for a while, or pop authors, I should say, they didn't have to learn the back end.
Right.
Writers only had the front end.
Right.
And so to learn the back end was just too damn intimidating for me. But I don't know if you appreciate this now, because I've just started posting. I have finally, um, Gail was one of my beta readers for Deadly Little Secrets, and I really appreciated the time that she took, and she liked the story, et cetera, et cetera. But I would only publish it in ebook form because I was too intimidated to publish a paperback at that time. It's the truth. It's the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
And I'm not intimidated anymore. And
Yay.
yeah, I know it took getting this color hair, which I've had for quite a while, but it really did take getting this color hair to grow into that confidence, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense. And
Mhm.
I think that a lot of older people are really feeling that instead of diminishing, I'm feeling empowered. And so it's like, if you don't like my story, you don't have to buy my story. You don't have to, download it, etc. But I wanted the paperback version to Deadly Little Secrets, and I hired a wonderful author who knew the back end and did that, business, a cottage industry for
Mhm.
her. And she gave me the directives. And I will tell you, Gail, it's taken quite a while to get to get that where I want it. But now I'm not afraid. And
Yeah.
it's launched. I anyway, and I thought of you all through this last month when I was doing it because you had the insight to just go down that road and stay down that road. And so, can you talk a little bit about when maybe you hit that fork in the road when you said, should I do traditional? Should I do this new indie version? Because you've been doing indie publishing for a long time. So could you
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit with our listeners?
My very, very first book, Freezer Burn, which is a mystery,
Right. Yeah.
that was published by a very small press back in Baltimore. They no longer
Okay.
exist.
Hmm.
And I went with a small press for a specific reason because I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. I wanted to learn. Now, in the publisher's defense, they were not obligated to teach me.
No.
That was an expectation on my part that was incorrect. Um, so I will not ever say that it was a horrible experience. It
Yeah.
was a fine experience. It wasn't what I wanted.
Gotcha.
So I had my second book in this series, and I'm shopping it around to different people and different agents,
Hmm.
and nobody's biting. In the meantime, because I've been writing this column for like 2, 3 years now, my friends are all saying, well, Irma Bombeck put out a book of columns and Dave Barry puts out books of columns. Why don't you
Absolutely.
put out a book of columns? And I thought it sounded like a great idea. And I'm again pitching agents this. And the agents are all saying the same thing. It's like, it sounds great. You're really funny. I'm sure it's a wonderful book. You're not famous.
Yeah.
Call us when you're Dave Barry. And I'm like, well, Dave Barry will not like that very much because that's identity theft. But Amazon had this new thing called Create Space, and you could get a paperback in addition to the ebook. And
Yeah.
I went through Create Space to create my very first book, which is um, What Would Irma Do? Confessions of a First-Time Columnist.
I remember the
And
book.
I had kind of cherry picked enough columns over 2 years to put together in this book. And I just decided there's no harm in trying this. So I went through CreateSpace, but at the time I'm going through Create, I'm also learning about it because they're sending me files to review and everything. We're like, oh, okay, so this
Right.
is how it's done.
Exactly.
And I learned about ISBNs and all that.
Yeah.
So I started off with What Would Irma Do? And that stayed when it came out on the top 10 of humor books for a lengthy time, a lengthy time.
Lovely.
And so when my second mystery book, Hit or Misses, was not getting any traction with agents who rightfully, in their mind, they don't want to pick up the sequel to a series somebody else has published.
Yeah.
So I went, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's go indie. And I found I love control. I love
Yeah.
control. I
Yeah.
love to pick my own covers. I love to be able to choose my own promotions and
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say I'd never go traditional, but it would take a lot more than publishers are probably willing to offer me.
Well, yeah, I mean, the famous story of Hugh Howey that I'll abbreviate is that he swore that he wouldn't. He started publishing his novel on his website in
Uh,
like 2008 or 20 whatever,
right?
because he had pitched and pitched and pitched, and traditional publishing wasn't giving him the time of day. And of course, what he didn't know is that traditional publishing at that time, not many of us did, was starting to close its doors,
Hmm.
or narrow the avenue
Yes.
of submissions success. And so anyway, he did that on his own, and I think one of the reasons is because it was just so brand new. And he was so well skilled on the internet that
Hmm.
he was all over Facebook and his website. And, I mean, he really, really did a fabulous job.
Hmm.
And that incentivized, I think, a whole lot of people who
Yeah.
were just tired of hearing not even no thank you, but not hearing anything back
Yeah.
at all from traditional publishing.
Yeah.
And just to extend this a little bit, I've been traditionally published. And so when you're
Hmm.
traditionally published, you have the expectation that goes with the illusion.
Uh-huh.
And I'll just leave it at that. But
Yeah.
I, then tried to get published. My agent couldn't do anything with my novel because of the subject matter of AIDS. And traditional publishing, meanwhile, was starting to grow and starting to, really come into social media more and more. I was discounting it until I couldn't. And then something came in that was called hybrid. And hybrid, I decided to try. And I did that as well. So traditional hybrid, and and I have to tell you that the self-publishing route, I'm not just saying this because I just did it. I really love the control.
Yeah, we're just, I don't care if I'm a control freak. There's nothing freakish about that.
I have to because like anyway, I won't go down that road because you understand it, and anyone
Yeah.
who's self-published understands it. If you don't have to have a team around you to self-publish every time you do, and now I don't, I can do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's fairly liberating.
Hmm.
And I'm saying that in 2025 when self-publishing has been around since what? The early 2000s or maybe 2000. So I'm just getting, and it's because of a few things. One, I don't want my manuscripts laying in my hard drive when I cross. I want them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I want them out, and I'm not ready to cross anytime soon, knock on wood, but you never know.
Yeah.
And when you put that kind of work into your writing, your storytelling, you want it out there. What's interesting to me about what you said, and I didn't really appreciate this before, is that you started out as an artist, but you really weren't doing art for the sake of art. You were a little girl telling stories, and art was one of the tools that you used
Right.
to tell those stories. Was there an aha moment in your young life, not even, in your 20s when you said, I should be writing stories? Or did you write stories during that time?
I always wrote. I always
Okay.
wrote. I wrote stories. My favorite thing to do around Christmas time was take a Christmas Carol and parody it for whatever I was, uh, like I was working at an aircraft corporation. It was Hughes Aircraft. Now it's Raytheon.
Okay.
Um, and so, I would pick a Christmas Carol and parody it with like the CEO's name. And it was usually derogatory. I'm sorry to say. It
And
was
your
never.
colleagues loved it.
Yes, yes,
Sure.
absolutely. So I was always writing. When I
Yeah.
was little, I didn't understand that you could actually be an author and make a living
Yeah.
being an author. I just had books that I loved that I read. Um, and then in my 30s, I tried writing a book and I got to the that middle, we call the
Yeah.
muddle,
Yep.
and abandoned all hope. And
That saggy middle.
that saggy middle.
Yep.
And so I had tried. I had tried, but
Yeah.
until Freezer Burn came along, which was I got the idea from the Southern California Writers Conference.
Hmm.
It was my very first attendance. It was the very last year that they held it in Palm Springs, and I won the topic contest.
I was
And
at
from
that conference.
that entry, uh, I I thought I won the contest. The next day, Dale and I we set out to go to Monterey, and of course, he drives, I sleep, and I woke up from my sleep, and I grabbed I had something, a recording device, maybe it was my phone, and I recorded, okay, here's what happens, and here's the characters,
Hmm.
it was like I took these characters that were really just kind of comical in this one, 250 word flash fiction and made them real people. And
Hmm.
that's what started everything.
And as long as you mention Writers Conference, and I'm looking at the time, we're going to wind this up. I could
Okay.
talk to you for a long time, but I tell writers all the time, especially in the 21st century, get thee to a writers conference.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just get to a writers conference. Be with your tribe of people who understand the
Yeah.
fantasies, the storytelling, all of it. You don't have to explain. You don't have to even tell shorter versions of it. When you're having coffee, you can talk about a character who's giving you trouble, and they won't look at you like you're nuts. Get to a writers conference, and the
Yes.
Southern California Writers Conference
Yes.
comes up in January, and I'll be talking about
Yes.
it before then. But Gail, tell us again about the book that you hope is coming out fairly soon. Title of that.
Okay, that's called Murder Takes the Reins.
Okay.
It is a romantic suspense. It's set in Burbank, California at the LA Equestrian Center. So it is horse show related. There is a young widow who is torn between the affections of a sexy cowboy and a sexy detective, which is a first world problem. Unfortunately, the cowboy's wife ex-wife has been found murdered,
Uh-oh.
and the widow is the primary suspect.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Got it. And we're off and running.
Yes.
I love it. When do you think it might come out?
I'm
January, did you
I'm
say?
trying to get it out
Okay.
January. I have learned it's always too early for the publisher and too late for the author, and I am both. So part of me wants it out right now, and then the publisher had is like, stop,
Yeah,
wait,
I
you have to
know.
plan this. So it might be
Listen to
February.
that.
I absolutely listened to
Yeah.
it.
I
Yeah.
didn't listen to that when I published the ebook, and I should have, but now I do because I'm a publisher.
Yes, put on the
Yes,
other hat.
I
Yeah.
absolutely. Gail, if people want to stay connected to you, what's the best place to do that? Would that be Facebook?
I am currently in Facebook jail.
Oh, okay. So
So I hope
Instagram,
to
are you
get
on
back
Instagram?
there. I am
Yeah.
on Instagram. I am on Threads. I am on Blue Sky.
Okay.
You can find me Gail Carline. I am Gail Carline everywhere.
Good.
I have a website, Gail
Mm.
Carline, and I am going to be. I haven't quite finished it, but within the next 2 weeks, I will be full on Substack
Oh, good. And then we're going to talk.
because
Okay, we're going to talk about. I'm just looking for, and then I want to follow up on this. Once you get on it, let's talk about it because
okay,
I've been on it for over a year. I'm very ambivalent about it, mostly because I don't get enough readers and I haven't spent a lot of time on it. Um, but it's really a fabulous platform for stuff that I'm very much invested in and being an activist about.
right,
Substack is really the place
right.
to go. For the creatives, I think Jennifer Silva Redmond, who I hope to have on the show, I think she does very well on it.
She does very well on it. She's
Yeah,
the one that, because I was going to say in a couple of weeks I'm going to have actually a newsletter, which I have resisted until enough people have told me you need a newsletter, and
yeah.
then she said, uh, just go with Substack because you can,
I think it's good advice.
yeah.
It's
So
just that that's a conversation for another time, but let me know and we'll
yeah,
we'll we'll touch
yeah,
base.
yeah,
Gail
absolutely.
Carline, you can find her at gailcarline.com. She's got a slew of books out there, fiction, nonfiction. She's an equestrian, and so many of her subject matters have to do with horses. And she's a mystery writer, and she's a columnist who's
And a
quite
fantasy writer. Don't forget my
fantasy,
fantasies. If you
fantasy.
like
I forgot.
If you
Uh,
like girl pirates and dragons, I'm your girl.
Say no more. Gail Carline, thank you so much for coming on my show, which, wait, I have to, my show, 21st Century Authors and Content Creators, talking to Marla Miller. I have to still look at it because
I think you should just have
I'm
talking
still
to
not
Marla
sure.
Miller because like she is a great conversationalist, and we love being on her whatever you want to be on podcast, be on a podcast. You want to be on, I don't know, we can YouTube it. I don't care.
Okay.
Just
Well, you're
talking
going
to
to
you
be
is
on
fun.
YouTube probably by tomorrow. And of course, I'll
Okay.
let you know. And you can, for those of you on Facebook, the best place to find me is Marla Miller, Hooking Readers. And Gail Carline, you can find, well, you will be able to find her. She's also, you should be following the Southern California Writers Conference and
Yes.
also the Santa Barbara Writers Conference if you're in California. Just, you'll get stuff from them.
Yeah.
It's not all pearls of wisdom, but there's some good stuff. And writers need to be anchored to
Yeah.
um, the writing community. Gail, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you soon, and we will talk about Substack.
All right.